Finally, my personal favorite for what I want to be the next Zelda release, and that is a new 2D, and by 2D I mean top-down style Zelda game. And I'm actually gonna go out on a limb and say it's very likely. It's been over a decade, and it just feels like the right time to do it. So that's my pick.
Called it.
Well, I have to say I'm feeling pretty great because in my opinion, we got the best case scenario for a Zelda announcement from the most recent Nintendo Direct. We are getting a new 2D Zelda game, and not only that, Zelda will be playable. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will be released on the Switch on September 26th of this year. I'm giving my overall impressions followed by some interesting observations. I'm not going to be looking at every little detail in the trailer, as much of that's already been done, but just a handful of things that I found interesting. Then I'll conclude by giving my initial thoughts on a possible timeline placement for the game. I've made several videos, including my most recent one, harping on that we are long overdue for a new 2D Zelda. It's been over a decade since A Link Between Worlds, so I'm ecstatic at the thought of a brand new top-down adventure with maybe even some classic-style dungeons. A playable Zelda is a very exciting idea and one that I've been hoping for a long time. Nintendo stated in the past that if they were ever to make Zelda playable, that she wouldn't just do what Link does, because what would be the point? It would just be like a character reskin. So Nintendo has shaken things up with Zelda's playstyle, where she has an item called the Tri-Rod, which can copy objects and they can be spawned in to solve puzzles or be used in combat. This focus seems to be keeping in line with the freedom and creativity that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom embraced. But we may also have a lot of elements from classic Zelda Return, such as traditional dungeons and a linear narrative. The game's art style is being reused from the Link's Awakening remake, which I think is perfectly fine. I do think it looks great, and while I would have preferred a new art style, I will not complain at all about them reusing this one because it looks adorable, and I'm sure it helped cut down development time and helped get this game in our hands faster. At least we don't have to wait 6 years between new Zelda games this time. So just to reiterate, I'm super excited to play Echoes of Wisdom. I got exactly what I was asking for, so how could I not be? Now let's get into some observations. First thing we see is the return of Darknuts. We haven't seen these enemies in a new Zelda game since Twilight Princess, 18 years ago. Obviously they were in the Link's Awakening remake in 2019, so I'm sure that played a major role in them returning since the models were already made for them. The Hylian hood makes a return as well, with an interesting pattern on the back, reminiscent of, dare I say, the Twilight, so Twilight Princess HD ports confirmed. No, but seriously, I don't think this means anything more than it just being a cool pattern, and it's a nice touch that Zelda picks up Link's hood after he goes missing and wears it during her adventure. Link's sword, while blue, does not exactly resemble the Master Sword. I'm guessing that it's not meant to be. I'm interested to see if we learn more about it or if it's just a generic sword. In a very quick moment after Link strikes Ganon for the final time, there is a really quick cut. As you can see, Ganon is now right in front of where Zelda is when before he was to the left of her. So they may be leaving something out that is causing this cosmic rift material to appear and make Ganon vanish. Possibly another villain? It may also have to do with Ganon's trident, which is where the rift seems to appear from. In multiple clips of footage, you see Zelda running away from the growing rift, so I think in most situations the rift will be a hazard, but we will see later that this rift world will be a place we can explore. As the rift expands in this stone layer, you can see that the stone debris is inside the rift, and when it expands in the trees inland, you can see what looks like floating islands. So it seems whatever this cosmos world is, it's pulling the objects in and keeping them inside there. Besides the obvious dungeon entrance here, you can also see what is either Ganon's lair or another dungeon entrance here. Zelda is locked in a prison cell. She meets Tri, who will give her the Tri-Rod. I'm guessing Tri, who looks very cosmic, almost like something out of Mario Galaxy, probably comes from whatever place is within this rift. An interesting question is, who locked Zelda away? We saw Ganon disappear, so more on that shortly. The little triangles that float behind Tri seem to indicate how many echoes you can spawn. As you spawn objects, we can see the triangles float above each object. We know that there had to be a limit on how much you could spawn, otherwise this game would start lagging pretty quickly. This might be their way of gating content, as some areas will need more echoes before they can be accessed. So maybe you have to upgrade your Tri-Rod to be able to spawn more echoes to get to harder to reach areas. You can see now that Zelda is clearly in this cosmos world, and it seems to be made up of different chunks of Hyrule that were pulled in. She's standing on what looks like a floating boat and making an echo out of a water block, but you can see other floating land behind her. One thing I'm a little worried about is the repeat of menu scrolling that we dealt with in Tears of the Kingdom. You can see the object menu seems to be set up almost exactly like the Tears of the Kingdom menu was for the fuse ability. Hopefully they add an ability to maybe pick like 3 to 5 favorite items, which might help cut down on how much you need to scroll through the menu. In one of the most exciting clips we see Zelda sneaking into a Gerudo village. The Gerudo have been especially rare in 2D Zelda games, only appearing previously in Four Swords Adventures. It'll be very interesting to see if there are any lore implications because of this. We see what may be Impa helping Zelda escape Hyrule Castle. To piece some of this together a bit, I could see the fight with Link and Ganon happening at the very beginning. Ganon feigns his death or uses his new power to trap Link, then goes to take over Hyrule Castle. When Zelda escapes Ganon's lair, her guards lead her back to the castle where she is then captured by Ganon. She meets Tri in her jail cell and is able to escape with her new ability. When the soldiers possessed by Ganon come after her, maybe Impa steps in here to help her escape. We see what looks like an argument between the River Zora and the Zora tribe, which could either be a fun side quest or maybe even part of the main quest. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Now, as for where this game takes place in the timeline, one thing I can confidently say is this most likely takes place in the old era of Hyrule, so pre-Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I see most people speculating that this is in the Downfall timeline, which it does seem to fit the bill. The map is similar to A Link to the Past, and Ganon is only in his beast form and is wielding a trident. The presence of Deku Scrubs, the Great Deku Tree, the Zora tribe, and the Gerudo, all in Hyrule still, does throw a lot of things into question. We haven't seen any of them in Hyrule in the Downfall timeline before. Death Mountain is also to the northwest of Hyrule Castle, which is interesting since it's usually to the east or northeast. So while the Downfall timeline placement seems likely, it really is too early to tell. One thing I want to reiterate is that character designs and art style don't necessarily mean anything when it comes to the timeline. Just because the art style is the same as Link's Awakening doesn't mean this game is a prequel or a sequel to that game. Just because Ganon's design is similar to the A Link to the Past official art doesn't mean it's related to that game either. I look forward to continuing to learn more and speculate about Echoes of Wisdom. Make sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.